happy to call the meeting of the State Advisory Council for Gifted and Talented Education to order. I'm so glad that each of you is here. As you know, it's incredibly important for us to have a forum or we don't meet. So thank you for being here and for being alert and ready for us to do some important business today. I think this probably would be a good time for us to introduce yourself. As I call roll, would you tell who you are and what you do? Because we meet so seldom, I think it would be really nice to know who all is here. And we've had some new appointments this year. So, Abigail Wheat.
Dr. Roberts, can you come back to me? They're doing announcements at school.
Okay, we can do that. Amanda Wells.
Here, and I'm a music educator. I'm the vocal director at the School for the Creative and Performing Arts in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I think you need to tell what you've done recently. That's so exciting.
So last weekend we went to Los Angeles, California for the Grammy Awards. My husband plays with the singer-songwriter Tyler Childers, and they won their first Grammy for Best Country Song. And my husband got to go up and actually accept the award. So he gave the acceptance speech. So yeah, we're so excited.
That is exciting.
Congrats.
Randy Corbett. Brand Martin. Carrie Ballinger.
Yes, I'm present. I am the superintendent of Rockcastle County Schools. This is my 6th year serving in that position. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here, Carrie. Cassidy Rosenthal. Diane Ford. Anna England.
I am the Gifted and Talented Coordinator for the Russell County School District. And like they said, my name is Hannah England, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Jean Lee. Jessica Hastings. Kirk Haynes. Julia Roberts, I'm here, and I'm the Mahurin Professor of Gifted Studies at Western Kentucky University. Kim Walters Parker. Kimberly Clayton Code.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Code. I am a professor at Northern Kentucky University.
Lindsay Burton. Luann Gore Flanagan. Mason Dyer. I'm sorry. Let me back.
Good morning. I am Luann Flanagan. I'm a middle school special education teacher who has worked for KEA for the last 9 years. I work with our student program in Ed Rising and a big special ed proponent.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. Mason Dyer.
Good morning, Mason Dyer, President of the Association of Independent Kentucky Colleges and Universities.
Pauline Covington.
Hi there, this is Pauline Covington, Spanish and technology teacher at the School for Creative and Performing Arts. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm driving right now and I've got a helper holding my phone.
Sadie McKnight. Sadie McKnight.
Hello, I'm here and it's Shade McKnight. I am a middle school principal at the Academy at Shawnee, and this is my second meeting as I was newly appointed in October. So very glad to be here. And it's been very nice. This is my second meeting. So thank you again.
And we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Robin, Bear.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Robin Bear, and I work at the Council on Post-Secondary Education, and this is also my second meeting, so it's good to see you all again.
Welcome. Vita Stewart.
I am Vita Stewart, and I am the Director of Educator Recruitment and Development for the Kentucky Department of Education. And this is also my second meeting. I'm glad to be here.
And so glad each of you is here. Melissa Thompson.
I am Melissa Thompson. I'm the Gifted Education Consultant, and I am new and just started this role, second meeting, but I started in October, so glad to be here. Thank you for coming.
So Veronica.
Excuse me, Dr. Robert. Lindsay Burton is showing on the screen, but her camera is not on. And she tried, I thought, because when you called her name, we didn't get to hear her say present.
Lindsay Burton has joined the room.
But we don't see
I am
her.
here, but I'm having some technical difficulties.
Oh, there you are.
I know, I'm having a little trouble, so I am here.
And what's your role, Lindsay, in school?
I'm a kindergarten teacher.
And for the council, you are?
The secretary currently. Oh, there, I think it's going.
Anyone else who's come on that didn't have a chance to introduce yourself?
I'll go. We had our KD. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll go now that the announcements are over.
Yeah.
My name is Abby Wheaton. I am the middle school and high school gifted and talented resource teacher for Union County Public Schools.
Thanks, Abigail. Anyone else? There were
Dr. Roberts, we have officially met quorum for this meeting.
Shall we all cheer? Yeah. It is so important, folks, plan to be here. And it's even better when you're here in person, but online, it's great. So Veronica?
Yes, and I just want to welcome you all here and echo what Dr. Roberts said. It's so important that you are here and that we greatly appreciate the work that you are doing to support gifted students in our Commonwealth. And it's an exciting month. It's Gifted Education Month. So I heard the proclamation ceremony went very well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there yesterday, but it is just exciting that we're able to celebrate gifted students, not only this month, but as much as possible. So again, I thank you all for being here, and it really means a lot to us at the department as well as to students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is to review meeting norms and duties. So I will do that. So just some reminders, members must speak when called on for roll call or any voting. And that remember to stay focused on the topic at hand for the sake of time. Meeting materials were sent to you previously in the email, and they are also posted in the SACGTE meeting Google folder. Reminder also to stay focused on the agenda. Please have your camera on and mute your microphone when not speaking. Just a reminder as well, in order to actively vote on any item and count as quorum, cameras must be on. There will be an exit slip at the end of the meeting to get additional feedback. A reminder again, the meeting is being recorded. Hybrid meetings, which is what we have today, part virtual and part in person, require a roll call vote for each item. Please state your name and respond yay, nay, or abstain when voting. And when participating online and you wish to ask a question, please click on the raise hand icon and wait to be recognized by the chair.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That should have us up to date on
Yes.
what we should. minutes were sent out to you,
Right.
and I'm hoping you read them. And does anyone have suggestions, edits?
You could maybe drop some link in the chat. If they need them, but there are in the Google folder if you have access, and everybody has access to the Google folder.
Does anybody need them?
Give everybody a moment.
Then is there a motion to approve the minutes of the fall meeting?
I make a motion.
A
Abby
sec-
Wheaton will second.
Having heard no edits, let's go ahead and vote. Those in favor, does this take a roll call?
Yes, so whenever there's a hybrid, you have to get a yay or nay or abstain.
Let us do that. I'm only going to call the names of those I know are here.
Yeah.
Abigail Wheaton,
Yay.
Amanda Wells,
Yay.
Anna England,
Yay.
Carrie Ballinger,
Yay.
Joey Roberts, yay. Kimberly Clayton Code,
Yay.
Luann Gore Flanagan,
Yay.
Mason Dyer,
Yay.
Pauline Covington,
Yay.
Dave McKnight.
Yay. Yay.
And I believe that covers the voting members.
Did Lindsay, did you call in?
No, she didn't call me.
Oh, I'm sorry. And
That's okay. I was a late arrival.
Yeah. All right, that's it. From all yays. So motion carries.
I'm sorry.
Point of
can you-
order,
who
please.
made-
Yes.
We did not ask for any opposed.
Ask for any opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everyone had voted yay, so I have anyone opposed. Then the minutes are approved as written.
I'm sorry. Can I ask who made the initial motion?
Amanda Wells.
Okay, thank you. It's a little hard to tell with some virtual, some there who's talking all the time. So
Dr. Roberts, Melody Cooper is coming back from the annex. She's on her way back from legislative committee meeting and wondering if we could adjust the agenda to move. She should be here within the next 10 minutes, but
Of course.
okay, perfect.
Excellent.
I think, do we have to take a vote to move the agenda item, Jared?
Yes, ma'am, you do.
So ask for a motion to
May
move.
I have a motion to
Luann
move?
Flanagan, I make the motion that we adopt this agenda with flexibility.
A second?
Carrie
We have
Ballinger,
to
I
state
second.
specifically what items we're moving.
And moving the legislative update down to when she gets here from across the.
Okay, so Abby Wheaton will make a motion to move the legislative update to when the presenter arrives. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
A second to the motion.
Carrie Ballinger, I second.
Any discussion of that motion? Let me call the roll. Abigail Wheaton,
Yay.
Amanda Wells,
Yay.
Carrie Ballinger,
Yay.
Hannah England,
Yay.
Julia Roberts, yay. Kimberly Clayton Code,
Yay.
Lindsay Burton, Luann Gore Flanagan,
Yay.
Mason Dyer,
Yay.
Pauline Covington,
Yay.
Dave McKnight.
Yay.
Anyone opposed to the motion? Then the motion has passed. Well, I think that moves us to your report, Alyssa.
It does. I'm going to forward through
Legislative update.
the legislation.
You probably need to introduce yourself because you're kind of new on the block since we met last, and we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Let me get in camera view. I did introduce myself at the beginning, but I will definitely do that again, just so I think we had a couple of people maybe not on camera, but I am Melissa Thompson. I started with KDE in October as the education gifted consultant. So, would we like to just keep going? This won't take very long. I did want to give a education update from KDE. The GSSPs are online. They are on the Gifted Talented Coordinator website. And we updated that just very similar to an IEP. I believe we talked about it at the last meeting, but those are available for general ed teachers. You do, however, and we communicated this online, that the cases contact does need to be involved in that and give permission for the general ed teacher to have access to those. But again, those are very similar to an IEP, and this will very much support collaboration with the GT coordinators, GT teachers, and the general ed teachers to be able to really focus in on those gifted and talented students and give them the support that they needed. I am also going to be presenting at the CAGE conference. My presentation is about differentiation and compacting. It is focused also on general ed teachers and how they can use data-driven information to compact and differentiate lessons in the classroom. I'll also update and inform general ed teachers about the GSSPs available in their district. Another note that I did forget is for those GSSPs to be available, the cases does have to get permission, and that has to be done every year. So that's an important note to make too. But thank you all, and thank you for welcoming me in this new position. So far, absolutely wonderful experience. So thank you.
Melissa, I've placed in the chat that CASIS stands for Kentucky Student Information System. Most of you all know that as Infinite Campus.
Thank you.
Any questions for Melissa? Hearing none, let's have a legislative update.
Thank you for adjusting the schedule for me a little bit. So I'm Melody Cooper. I think I've met many of you, but for those of you I have not met, I'm the policy advisor here in the Office of Special Education and Early Learning. And so we are right here in the throes of the legislative session. So there's not a lot final that I can give you. I mean, nothing final, but I'll just kind of give you a little overview and then kind of talk about some things that you might be interested in as far as bills that have been filed. So you can go ahead and advance. We'll do some fun facts, what's dropped, and then what you can stay tuned for. So that's kind of the three big areas where we'll focus. Keep going. Okay, so right now, a lot of you are probably in the work that you do, a lot of you are probably familiar with this, but I like to start with just a little bit of an overview. Just, you know, when I came to work at KDE from a classroom teaching position, I didn't know these things. And so I like to just start. So what's happening right now, that group of circles that you see there is kind of the whole legal lawmaking landscape of Kentucky. We've got the Constitution, we've got the court system. And so right there where we are, those three circles that I have in different colors are where we really focus in on here at the agency. So right now, that top yellow circle that says KRS, that stands for the Kentucky Revised Statutes. That is what the lawmakers are doing right now. If they write anything or amend anything, it's all about the statutes, which are our laws. And so then moving down, we have KAR, Kentucky Administrative Regulations. Those are policy rules. They hold the weight of law, but they are not written by the General Assembly lawmakers. They're written by the agencies to support those statutes that they are working on now while they're in their session in the General Assembly. And then that final smallest circle, you'll see non-regulatory guidance. Those are also things that are written by state agencies to help people understand how to implement statutes and regulations on the everyday. So that's right now what we'll be talking about are the KRS, the statutes that are being looked at by the General Assembly members right now. Okay, you can proceed. All right, so whenever you hear about a bill, a lot of times you'll get a link to the bill, and that's fine too. But if you don't know where to go, I suggest, and I always suggest this to anybody, go to, I think it's legislature.ky.gov. It's linked there in that slide. I'm not sure if you can click that or not, but that homepage is where you can find a little bit of everything. You can find information about the General Assembly members, about different committees, laws that are already in effect. I could go a whole day just touring that website. But for now, if you're hearing about bills that are being filed, you'll see that star there, click here. If you go to the home page and click that box, that's where a big landing page. Now there's a couple other clicks you have to go through, but it's pretty self-explanatory about House bills, Senate bills, and then you can find them all, whether how they've been filed by date or by subject matter, or even just a big list of numbers filed by the House or the Senate. So that's the box that you click if you want to look for a bill that you've heard about. Okay, you can advance to the next slide. So here we're looking at the landing page. And one reason that I say go to the home page of the General Assembly to get to a bill is because a lot of times if you get a link to a bill, it goes straight into the text and it bypasses this landing page. This landing page has a lot of good information on it because first of all, and I chose this one here, House Bill 190 from last year. This is the one that passed, with the advanced educational opportunity. So I'm sure a lot of you looked at this while it was going through the system last year. If you find, so now this one right here says acts. That's because this thing was passed. It's final now. It's been recorded in Kentucky's acts. Right now, any current bills, you won't see that because they're not final. They have to be finalized to be considered an act. But you could see some that say it's introduced, or you could see one that says current version. So you always want to look at what's most current, because if they put in any floor amendments while they're in the chambers, or if they add any amendments while they're in a committee, that'll show up in that current version. You can also see information about the sponsors. Sometimes it's good to see if there's like a bunch of sponsors, you might get a little clue that that bill might be something they're really interested in moving forward. That's not always the case, but it can be. The summary will give you just a brief snapshot about what the bill is about. Now, one little caveat I'm going to say on that summary. They do not put the summary of the current version. So if it gets updated during the session, you're going to want to look at the current version. The summary will only be about the original. Now, because this bill passed last year, it does have both of them there. It's got that summary of the original and then the summary of what passed. But right now, while bills are still being amended, if it's not in its original version, then you'll want to look at the current version and not rely solely on that summary. And in fact, they can, it has happened that they've taken out huge pieces of what's in that summary. And so if you look at the summary, you might not have any idea what's really being done in the bill unless you look at the current version. But the landing page is a really good, and you can't scroll here because that's a snapshot, but you can also scroll down and see any committee substitutes that they filed so that you can see what's happening with a bill if you're particularly interested in one. Okay, you can move on forward. So then here's the good stuff. Once you click on a bill, you will see the sections. The sections always tell you which current law is being looked at. So in this one, they were amending a part of KRS 1586453. They will either be amending a law, that's what they're usually doing. Sometimes it will say create a new section of KRS 158, and then all of the text will be something new that they're adding. And then every so often you see something that says repeal, and that means that they're doing away with that part of the law. And then you'll also just see that bill language there. Next slide, and we'll get just a little bit. So when you're reading one also, when you see the different formatting of the text, that underlined, bold, italic is anything that's being proposed to be added as new language into the current law. If it has the strike through there, you can see down at the bottom, that's something that they're proposing to take out of current law and remove. And then, of course, the unformatted text is just current law that's already on the books, and they're leaving that alone. It's just going to stay as is. All right. And I think now we're ready to get into some of the things that I thought you all might be interested in that have been filed so far. So you can go ahead and go to the House. So in the House, I'm going to show you a few more bills in the House just because there are more members. They file a lot more bills. The Senate is always a lot more pared down because they have less members in the Senate. But starting with what's being filed so far in the House, I try to choose some that are moving, like they've been through committees. Some of them have already even made it through the House and have gotten into the Senate. So we chose some that have got some traction here. And a couple of new ones. So House Bill 553, that's a language arts instruction. That one is Representative, I just totally blanked on his name, not Truitt, that's who I just saw. Tipton, Representative Tipton. And he's really interested in education. So you'll usually see education bills filed by him. So this is one where they're getting into reading curriculum that would be required at the district level. So it's getting into a lot of evidence-based, research-based, and trying to make sure that districts are no longer going to be using anything that might use the 3 cueing model of teaching reading. That's something that he's been working on for a few years and has not quite passed. So this is another attempt to get that in. And it also adds some language about research-based interventions that would be used for students. And then even making sure that teachers who are new teachers in IECE, so that would be preschool through grade 5, receive science of reading training by, so I think it's 2029. So they build in some on-ramps for things like that to be implemented. But it's an interesting bill if you want to look at that one, because it's really getting at that, early literacy component for students. House Bill 257, this is one that KDE was heavily involved in about the assessment and accountability system. And so some interesting things to note here. That one has had some movement as well. It adds in some local indicators of quality, vibrant learning experience for students, really interesting family and community input would be required in these local indicators of quality. School climate survey, and also adding student growth as a measure, which I know is something that districts seem to be pretty supportive of adding that student growth factor for accountability. Let's see here, House Bill 307. Oh, this one's interesting. This is a proactive post-secondary admission program. So it's aimed at really reducing some barriers for kids who may not who may feel overwhelmed at the whole process of trying to navigate the post-secondary world. So there's an opt-in. Districts would have to work with their students to opt into this program. And then at that point, some data sharing would happen among KDE and CPE, Council for Post-Secondary Education, to communicate with Kentucky post-secondary institutions, kids who may have a GPA or test scores on different exams that might qualify them for admission to those Kentucky universities. Now, it still would require final admission. You know, it's not an just automatic thing. It also requires institutes of higher education in Kentucky to set some of those parameters and send some letters to the students. So they'd say, here's what you do. Here are some financing opportunities that might be available, kind of telling them how to get into their key scholarship money, that kind of stuff. So it's really about reducing barriers for anything beyond that post-secondary work. Let's see what we have next. Children of military families. This is just one that I believe this one's going to be heard in committee soon. It hasn't really moved yet, but it's just helping expedite processes for kids who move into districts if they are in a military connected family, because often, you know, that's with the transfer of records and things like that, making sure that kids are getting the services that they need as quickly as possible. And even sometimes allowing them that being able to enroll and get everything moving before they even arrive, if the parents just touch base with them. Reading and writing in schools, House Bill 389. So this is Representative Heveron's bill that she's been working on. It really focuses a lot on dysgraphia and dyslexia, but also, again, bringing in that research-based, evidence-based interventions. It's requiring several things. It would require KDE to really update their dyslexia toolkit and provide even further supports for districts about different strategies that they might use for students with dysgraphia or dyslexia. It also adds a requirement that districts would have to have a policy on dyslexia. Right now, there is a law where it's permissive for districts to have a dyslexia policy. This would add that it is a shall and not a may. So they would have this. And then it outlines certain steps that they would go through under a multi-tiered system of supports. And then eventually, you know, considering the evaluation if that is deemed necessary for a student. So lots of things going on in that bill. Again, a lot of interest in early literacy and making sure that we're getting kids on track for reading when they're in the primary program. Okay, so moving on to House Bill 500. So that's the House Majority Budget Bill. It is just the first version. This thing is going to undergo a lot of iterations before it's done, I'm sure. But one thing I did check, the gifted talented funding remained steady. So it was still that 10 million per fiscal year that was in there last year. So that's that has been maintained. Now, I have not read the rest of the hundreds of pages in that bill, but I did check our OCL pieces. And then House Bill 609, that one was just filed a day or two ago, but it was Representative Jackson, and he seems to like things like these where it's kind of trying out things with different grant opportunities and maybe some short-term pilot projects to look at what might be useful. He's done things like this in the past. So this classroom libraries grant would be for K-5, and it established some guidelines about, you know, how KDE would work with districts to make these funds available. It does call for an appropriation from the General Assembly. I believe it was 5 million they were asking for an appropriation in this bill, if I'm remembering correctly. But again, it would be books and materials that are supported through that science of reading, research-based. So making sure that they're providing books in classroom libraries that would support kids through that science of reading framework. All right, any questions on those House bills? Okay, so moving on to the Senate, and again, there are less of these because there are less Senate members, they file less bills. And one pattern that I've noticed this year, and I guess really in the years that I've been doing this job, they tend to pass more, they look more at the operational big picture stuff where you're going to see things about curriculum and instruction and processes that happen at schools and KDE more in the House bills. And then the Senate bills, they get to these, the larger picture, talking about finances and school boards and things like that. So there are several high profile bills out there. I'm sure you've heard a lot of them about, aimed at certain districts, but one of them and again, all of these that I've selected here are moving. They're really moving along. So Senate Bill 3, I'll start with that one. That one is Senator Tishner. She's really interested in transparency of school district finances. So this one adds some timelines for local boards to adopt their budgets. And, she's even got it broken out into like tentative budgets and then followed by more detailed working operational budgets that all need to be reported through public meetings. And then several requirements about what would be posted on a district's website and even the department's website, I believe. So looking at those expenditures down to the nitty gritty, really just wanting the public to be able to access information about district spending whenever they want to access that information. So that one is moving. It's already made it over to the House, I believe. Yes, it's already passed through the Senate and is waiting to be assigned in the House. Senate Bill 4, that is Senator West. Yes, Senator West. This one's an interesting one, the Principal Leadership Program. So it would establish a 5-year practicum that requires a mentor for principals who've been on the job 5 years or less. And so it would require a mentor for a couple of years who meets certain criteria. The mentors would have to meet certain criteria, certain professional development requirements. And one thing I thought you might be interested to know is that they do, there are things about site-based councils that they would need to know about and, just overall evaluations of staff and things like that, but also programming for exceptional learners, which, includes gifted and talented. So that is one of the things that's listed in that bill. Senate Bill 22, this is a dual credit scholarship program that's really aimed at teacher apprenticeships. So high schools would have to do certain things to qualify for this, but it's trying to create a pathway so that high school students who are interested in the teaching profession could complete quite a bit of coursework before they would enter right into. It sounded like the intent is to make it easier for once a student is ready to go into their post-secondary institution, that they would be really close to going right into that teacher education program and being accepted into that with the coursework that they have. So sounds like it's trying to, just create that pathway for new teachers and even places some requirements on the districts who are participating to, whenever feasible, have the jobs ready and waiting for their graduates once they're finished. So really interesting approach to, trying to increase our teacher pipeline. So I'm sure you've looked into that one all kinds of ways. And then Senate Bill 181, maybe not really on topic for GT, but it got so much buzz last year. So Senate Bill, they have the same exact Senate bill number, but 181 about the traceable communication systems, is definitely well-intentioned, but had some just unintended consequences that made things a little difficult for districts and staff. So Senator Tishner is going back through trying to do some cleanup to make it more manageable with still the original intent in place, but just trying to clean up any of those issues that maybe cause some problems for districts, staff members, and volunteers. So I think that about covers. Any questions on the bills that you wanted to ask? Always feel free to reach out if something comes up later. So what's coming up next? You can go ahead and proceed there. Just a timeline. So we started on the 6th, the last day for them to file bills. In the House, we've got March 4th, and in the Senate, March 2nd. So I cannot wait for those dates. It feels like they're never going to get here. And they've filed so many. Then that veto period where the governor gets to look at the bills from April 2nd through 13th. And then the final 2 legislative days are the 29th and 30th of April. And just, the General Assembly actually had a snow day this year when we had all that ice, but I have not heard anything yet about any possible makeup days. So I don't know if they're pushing anything back. I haven't heard yet. So the committees, we pay attention to a lot of the committees, especially in our office. It can kind of run the gamut, but we really look at those appropriations and revenue committees. And I will note that Representative Petrie, who's kind of the big budget guy, he's the one who, he's the chair of House A&R, and all the House budget goes through him. So he's a pretty big deal. And he did comment that these budget review subcommittees were going to be really important this session, that they were going to be doing a lot of work on the budget there, that big budget bill that's going to need lots of tweaking. They're going to have a lot of conversations that are going to impact the final version of the budget there. So we're trying to keep a really close eye on those. We look at the children and families, of course, because of the early childhood piece that we have in our office. And then both the House and the Senate education committees, we pay a lot of attention to. The governor's proposed bill was filed this year as House Bill 304. That's his priorities that he lays out, and those sometimes align and sometimes do not align with what the House puts out for their priorities. The governor, so this is one thing to note about the budget bill. The budget bill is the only one, once it comes through his desk, that's the only one where he can line item veto. So that's just kind of an interesting little piece of the process. Others, he has to either veto or sign it, or just let it go into law without his signature. And I think, is there anything after this one? That might be about it. These are just in your free time. If you want to have a little bit of fun clicking around into some of these resources that I've posted here, you can watch the committee meetings live or archived on LRC's YouTube channel or on KET's legislative coverage. Those are easy to find if you Google. There's your legislative directory if you want to contact your lawmakers. The calendar shows you what's going to happen every day. And then, of course, you can find the committee schedules as well. So any questions? I think that was it.
I do have one question. Yes. I didn't see it there, and I'm not positive that it's been filed, but I have heard that the Senate is filing a bill that would give the principal more say and take it away from the school-based council. Have you heard about that?
I have not seen that one. I've seen some that it's more about like the superintendent and board type of level, but I will look, because it could be in one that's been filed and I just don't know right off of the top of my head. But I can't recall that one right off the top of my head. Now, I did see one the other day where I saw a topic where it said something about the site-based council. So it may be in that one. I'll take a look and I can send it to you if I find more information about that.
It's coming from Senate leadership. And that would be a real challenge to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'll dig a little bit further and I'll send it through Lynn or Melissa if I can find some information about that for you.
Julia, this is Carrie Ballinger. That's Senate Bill 152. It makes site-based councils advisory only and removes the council's ability to create school-based policy. So all policy moving forward, if that passes, would be created by the principal and then approved by the school board.
Thank you, Carrie.
So Senate Bill 152, if you want to read it.
It'd be a huge change.
Yeah.
Well, we do want to stay up to date. So thank you. Anyone have questions? I think several parts of what you shared were interesting, kind of making sure we all know where to find information, how to stay up to date with it, and what's currently out there. Any comments or questions? Thank you. Thanks for rushing over this. way.
Sure. Glad I was able to make it. I'm glad I was able to make it.
Thank you. And you did.
Yes.
So now we'll move to the priorities. And as we start this, let me share what happened last year that I so don't want to see it happen again. We established priorities, and because we didn't have a quorum, we really never voted on the priorities. Consequently, they were never sent forward to the commissioner. And that's a waste of an opportunity to do what this council is really set up to do, and that's to advise what's going on at KDE. So as we look at the priorities, I think today would be a great time to discuss them and to approve them with any changes that we would see today. I wish you were all here and we would split up into 3 groups and look at these, but you're not all here. So let's look at them as a group, looking at the first priority first. So can you pull that up so it's a little easier to just focus on the priority 1? And you perhaps have them from what's been set out previously. Oh, that's much better.
Better.
Can you all read that? Or do we need to magnify it just a bit? Are you okay? So the first priority that as a group when we met last was parent engagement and transparency. And there are 3 points listed under that. Broadly advertise that parents can submit their own portfolio to demonstrate their child's giftedness. That's just one piece. Think transparency. Parents can't do what they don't know they have permission to do. Use parent-friendly language in nomination forms and annual feedback. To whom would that one be directed? And I'd love for you to talk with me.
I think that would be up to the GT department to make sure that they're not using their language, but make it easily understandable to parents who may not understand all the qualities and things that go along with identification of a gifted student.
So for us, it's that saying that KDE communicates with gifted coordinators to share how important that is.
I think so.
Other thoughts?
Hey, this is Hannah England, and I just was kind of looking over this and had some just kind of maybe questions or thoughts with that first bullet to submit their own portfolio. Should we specify that as far as like I mean, are we looking at a parent could submit a portfolio to identify a student for GI or academic? Because, you know, part of the regulations is saying that not stay nine is what we look to. So in my district, like when we look at a portfolio, we might look at a portfolio for like a leadership, visual performing arts, maybe even creativity, but we don't do a portfolio for academic and IQ. So I would hate for this to get out there and the parents think that they could submit a portfolio to have their child identified in an area that would be required to have a ninth stain on. That's just kind of a thought for that.
I think that's really important. So let's look at the first one. How should or could the language be changed that parents can submit information, but take away the challenge you're suggesting, Hannah?
I would include, because I was gonna second Hannah. This is Abby Wheaton, because again, we do the same thing. You can submit a portfolio for leadership, creativity, those kinds of things. Maybe instead of the word demonstrate, to have portfolio to be considered. Because while you do have to have that ninth stay nine for the academic and the GI, you still do need 3 indicators so that those other pieces could be beneficial in terms of being sent to committee. But I agree with Hannah. We want to make sure that parents get all the correct information.
So is the word portfolio important there, or is it to submit information, documentation?
Sorry, I was gonna say we could even include like pieces of evidence to
Evidence,
to
yes, I was
support
gonna say that. Because we do want, especially if they're involved in things outside that could demonstrate some of those indicators. But maybe the word demonstrate, demonstrate is what kind of hung me up, because just because you think your child demonstrates and you present all this evidence doesn't mean that it's going to line up with the regulations. But if you give me evidence, then we absolutely are going to consider your child and we'll test them appropriately.
So read that with the wording you're suggesting.
Okay, broadly advertised to that parents could submit evidence for consideration of their child's giftedness.
I like the word consideration because that doesn't pigeonhole us to saying, oh, well, I submitted it. You said you would qualify them on that.
Right.
I like that. Yeah.
So parents can submit, can you restate that, please?
Parents can submit evidence for consideration in their child's giftedness, or for consideration. Somebody help me out here.
For consideration in determining their child's giftedness.
Yes, I like that. Yes. Parents can submit evidence for consideration in determination of child's giftedness. Yes, I like that.
Can we change it to parents can submit pieces of evidence, not just evidence? Because there could be.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. A portfolio makes it almost sounds more formal. You know, you have to have so much and it has to be in this formal folder and things like that. If they just hand me a stack of papers, that's sufficient too. It doesn't need to be anything formal.
I have a quick question. Like, is there a rubric of some sort or a criteria? Just so, I mean, it seems like what parents may feel like could be evidence may or may not actually be evidence. So is there any way that, like, you know, we could give them some parameters or criteria of certain things just so, you know, really for equity's sake, you know what I mean? So that we
Right.
don't get a lot of certain things or a little, you
Mhm.
know, of others.
I can speak for Union County Public Schools. I can't speak for others. We will ask students to create portfolios for consideration in leadership and creativity. We have created our own rubrics on how those are scored, and we do make those readily available to parents, to students, to anybody who asks for it. And I'm at the middle and high school. Our elementary teacher has and also visual and performing arts, I'm sorry. Our elementary teacher has even gone so far as to show them various art pieces and say things like, this one qualifies because of this reason, and this reason on the rubric. This one over here did not because of this, and this. So she gives them examples of what's considered a qualifying evidence and what is not considered qualifying evidence. When we send home parent letters, we give them examples of what portfolios can include. When it comes to academic areas and general intellect, really, it's for Union County, it's that 9th stay-9 that we're looking for. And then we're looking for teacher recommendation and work pieces, which teachers provide to us as well. But for that creativity and leadership, we try to make that as transparent and available as possible.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. And that's kind of been a concern of mine just as a state. There's a lot of variety when you come from district to district of what their evidence looks like, what their nomination forms. I mean, I can't say 100%, but I would venture to say that, you know, there's not every county that's even got nomination forms out there. So to kind of say even like parent friendly language in the next bullet, or like that would accept pieces of evidence. And I know in the years past, whenever we maybe had asked about that, some more unity across the county, it was kind of like, well, it's your district policy. What's your district? So, I mean, I'd even think like just guidance from the state of having each county in a similar fashion of how you can collect these pieces of evidence, what that would look like, how you have these nomination forms. Because I know in the cadre that I participate in, you know, we're just kind of sharing and collaborating and passing, well, this is the form I use. Oh, okay, well, let me see that. Well, that's a form I use. And we just kind of build our own. And so even some guidance on that would kind of look more of like a state possibly. That's just kind of my thought when I read this, to have more of a unified front when it comes to this. So that's just my thought.
I think it's a great thought, because you're right. Creativity and leadership can be so subjective from district to district. Yes.
I guess my next question is there any guidance like at the state level for, even if, you know, different districts look different, are there some, you know, clear-cut pieces like this has to be evident, you know, in your nomination forms or in your rubrics, just to get like some level of consistency? Just kind of when I was listening to what you said about everyone is, you know, kind of figuring it out, but if there are just like some ground rules and clear expectations that the state has so that, you know, all of the school districts can kind of create what works best, you know, for their school district, but it's all rooted, you know, in this foundation that's been provided by the state.
So this is Veronica Sullivan. I'm the director of the division that oversees gifted and talented education. At the state, we're limited in what we can require districts to do based on the gifted regulations. So we actually have to give districts the flexibility to have the local autonomy to select their programs based on our regulations.
Okay.
So Veronica, you're really suggesting that it is the gifted regulation that provides
Correct.
what we can provide.
Yes, yes. And it's not that we can't provide some guidance around suggested best practices and things like that, but we're very cautious because we don't want the misinterpretation that that's a requirement from the state, right? So we will always lead you, the districts and parents, back to the regulations to guide them in their decision making.
Can there be examples of the forms or just examples that you could possibly use? Or is that even something that you all suggest the KDE could not do?
It's something we could consider. It's not, you know, we would need data, and that's the purpose of this advisory group, is to advise us on unmet needs, right? So it's something that we could consider, but we would really have to look at ensuring that we are not overstepping what is allowable in statute and regulation, and ensuring that districts do have the flexibility to make local decisions.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a technicality because I'm just thinking about my students when I was a principal, and it says, you know, parents can submit to that. I know it's just a little technicality, but many of my parents were not the actual parents. So if it say legal guardian, parents, legal guardian, or just a little bit more inclusive, because, you know, I helped to rate, you know, I was the legal guardian for my nephew. And so I just think in people's minds that we need a little more. That's a good point.
I agree with
And
that.
the second one, use family-friendly language. So I know we're not there yet, but that just comes to mind when I'm thinking about my families.
Robin Abear has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question about the whole bullet, parent engagement and transparency, because we've been having a lot of conversations lately about parent engagement is not just about, you know, putting a message on a website or something. I didn't know if there would be any strategy related to the parent engagement piece, you know, like getting to parents who may not even know that this is a possibility. So I'm just raising the question about how do we get to the parents who don't know about this opportunity?
Yeah, to my point. And it would be parent/legal guardian. I think both is fine, but I just think we need to broaden. And to that point, it's about thinking about access and who knows and who feels that they can, you know, this is allowable for them, or that they're invited to do this.
You all are raising such important points.
This is Amanda Wells. One of the things that we've started in Fayette County when it comes to giftedness and the visual and performing arts is, instead of like our performing arts school being just in charge of it, doing an audition at our school, it's been sent out to all of the gifted, talented teachers at each school. They send out information to parents or have open nights where parents come in and they give them information about it. And then they send them to our school, SCAPA, and we have informationals on what the audition process looks like. We lead them through a mock audition to let them know what it is that's expected of them, show them all the things that go into this portfolio, or things that they can add in, or recommendations they can get from other teachers. So we're really trying to open it up more and make it more to where anybody, no matter what their home life is like or what kind of access they may or may not have, to open it up to where all students have the opportunity to get those gifted services.
Right. Whether they have private lessons or.
Correct.
Yeah, I know I was at Ashland Elementary and I did appreciate that opportunity to have our kids have that mock.
So that's just kind of happened over the past 2 to 3 years, to where we changed that from where students had to actually come into our school on a Saturday, which, you know, cut out a lot of kids who may not have transportation or parent or guardian support, to where they do a recording right there within their school during the school day. So I think that is a positive that has been changed over and is continuing to be modified and updated to where we service as many children as possible.
Important. So I don't know if I can read it with the markings out. Melissa, would you read it?
I sure can. Parent legal guardian can submit pieces of evidence for consideration in determining their child's giftedness, rubrics, or nomination forms.
I'm kind of thinking from what Veronica said, that it stops after giftedness. Is that what you all are saying, or are you interpreting it differently?
I put rubrics and nomination forms. We can conclude that sentence if you all would like, or I can delete it.
May I hear from you?
You could put rubrics or nomination forms should be readily available at local schools or district offices. Maybe local schools. That would be the easiest for families.
So is that requiring districts to have them if they should be available?
Does the word should imply requirement?
I think it does to me, but
Oh,
not to
okay.
you. Not to you.
I would think that'd be
You're
best
the worst.
practice.
Must. So should, could, may are not required.
Okay.
Change it to may be available at local schools. Maybe some schools have it, some don't.
Should we add upon request? I'm just asking. I'm not saying it needs to be added. I'm just, because
Anything else for that first bullet?
Upon request, yes or no? Okay.
When we get to the conclusion of one, we'll take a vote. But this would be a great time for you to edit if you see fit. Let's move to the second bullet. To use parent-friendly language in nomination forms and annual feedback.
Parent / guardian.
Well, I'd say use family-friendly language, and I think that for that one would.
Family-friendly sounds good to me.
Doesn't be. Sorry.
Is there also a broader word with forms and other communication? Or is that specific here good enough?
when we say annual feedback, are we thinking the progress reports? Because we do those twice a year. It's more than once per year.
As the regulation says.
Oh, okay. I mean, we've
No,
we
you're
provide
right.
feedback
No,
more than
you're
once.
right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
The GSSP is done, once a year. It needs to be updated at will with the committee meeting, and then you will do progress monitoring or progress reports twice a year.
And it's also usually part like a parent survey at the end of the year.
Yes,
Like
there
that
is.
before our end of the state. So when I seen that, that's kind of what I was thinking of, like feedback of maybe more so of the program and maybe not specifically the
okay.
student, but it could be either or. So no, I think that's a good point that you brought up.
So would you suggest changing that to be all inclusive?
And maybe you could possibly, this is just an idea, like to use family-friendly language in the nomination process. I don't know if we want to make that broader than forms, but that's just a thought.
Actually, I like that.
Before nominations.
Thank you.
Does that have other suggestions you want to add to the second bullet? Editing in a group is always challenging, as you all know that, but I think that's where we are and how we can do this. So let's look at the third bullet. To increase transparency for parents and families regarding the GT identification process.
I think we could get rid of the word parents and just say to increase transparency for families.
Suggestions? Shall we keep that? Would someone make a motion to the advisory council approves one as it's currently written? And if we're not at that point, what else should we recommend the changes to parent engagement and transparency?
This is Hannah England. I don't care to make the motion to submit this priority one as it currently reads.
Do I need to change in the number one parent legal guardian at the top?
Yes, I think at the top. Yes. Good call. So Hannah has made a motion. Is there a second?
Maybe change that just to them. Well, no, I think you're right.
I don't hear any enthusiasm for doing this, so
Luann Flanagan, I will second her motion.
thank you. Is there discussion of the motion? Then let us vote on one. Abigail Wheaton,
Aye.
Amanda Wells,
Yay.
Carrie Ballinger,
Yay.
Hannah England,
Yay.
Julia Roberts, yay. Kimberly Clayton Code,
Yay.
Lindsay Burton,
Yay.
Luann Gore Flanagan,
Yay.
Mason Dyer. I don't see Mason here. Pauline Covington,
Yay.
Dave McKnight.
Yay.
The motion passed, which means that this number one is a recommendation
Point of order.
that we can, oh, it's anyone opposed. Then the motion has passed. And this is a recommendation that the council can send to KDE. Let's look at two. And these, of course, are our priorities that were set by this group in the fall. Two is awareness and opportunities. Make people across the state aware that GT is a category of special education in Kentucky. Let me speak to that. I teach graduate classes in gifted ed. And over, I find that those people signing up when they go to talk with any teachers in their district often find that other teachers have no idea. I don't know if you all catch on to that. It depends a great deal as to who's leading in the district, who's leading in the school. But overall, there is not the awareness that I would hope for, that people understand gifted constitutes a category of exceptional children. And consequently, they all have IEPs. That is not known and understood. Anyone else want to comment on the first bullet? Does anyone agree with me?
This is Hannah again, and as I was reading that, I couldn't help but think of like the twice exceptional that comes to mind. And I don't know, we all know that that's part of gifted and the special education as well. I don't know if that's too specific to somehow put that kind of language in there. It might be, but yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Roberts. People don't put GT in the same category. We're all in the same spectrum, just on the other side.
Other comments?
This is Kimberly. Instead of make people across the state, could we say perhaps raise awareness across the Commonwealth?
Yeah, I had created awareness across the Commonwealth to that point.
That's right. Thanks, Kimberly.
Thanks.
I have a question, and it has to do with the first bullet point of this awareness and opportunity. This is Pauline Covington. Is there a reason that the IEP in Kentucky is called the GSSP for our gifted students? Because it seems to me that is an quote unquote easy way to raise awareness. If we call it an IEP, then I would assume that people would recognize that as part of the special education spectrum.
So Pauline, I'm probably the historian on this issue. And that decision was made, not that it can't be changed, But a special education teacher would have a caseload of what? 1, 2. Under 20s.
Oh, it would, yeah, it would vary. It would vary based on the eligibility category for the students. So, it can vary, yes.
But probably 20 or under.
Yes, probably.
So gifted resource teachers who are on this, you have a caseload of 1 to what?
Between the middle school and high school with all of, when you factor in things like leadership, creativity, my caseload in grades 6 through 12 is about 200.
Anyone else? And Tennessee uses the same IEP for gifted children as other exceptional children. So.
Dr. Roberts?
Yes.
Just to that point, I was raised in Pennsylvania and was identified, and in Pennsylvania, we had IEPs too. And we're required to have annual IEP meetings with parents and all of the people as well. But they identified differently. It was only in one category as opposed to the subject areas that we did.
And that's true in Tennessee too.
Yes.
Yes. And if we were to do everything exactly like you do in special education, would you have time to do that? With 200?
No, I'm fortunate enough to be able to teach classes with my students and to track with my students every single year. If I had to spend my whole life in meetings, I would have very, very little interaction with my students.
So, Pauline, I certainly hear what you're saying, and I don't make those decisions. But that was why a decision was made to not call it an IEP, although the law says all exceptional children will have an individual education plan.
I understand. I was just hoping we could
And
somehow
it would.
convince the powers that be to add more resources to service our GT students.
Other discussion? And a gifted student services plan, no doubt, does not have the heft that an IEP does. Although the law calls it an individual education plan. A comment. It's hard to write in front of people.
There we go. Is that right?
Yeah, there it is.
It is.
I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm glad you're doing that and not me.
Well, I'm just hearing them like bouncing off.
Other recommendations for the first bullet. The second bullet reads, guarantee that all children identified as gifted receive appropriate services. That's kind of a tough one, by the way. Guarantee. Suggestions on that second bullet? So remember, this is recommendation to KDE. That's what the priorities are.
I'm sorry that, can you, like you said, Dr. Roberts, the word guarantee? Because I'm just thinking if someone to read that, and if I think guarantee that's like, you should be doing this anyway. But would there be consequences if students were not receiving those appropriate services? And then when I look at like gifted across the board, like you might think about in all areas, some districts may be limited to what they could provide for their dance or their music students compared to other districts. And like I said, I might be just reading too much into that, but that's just some thoughts I had.
So how could we change the second bullet to make it doable?
I actually think guarantee is an important word there. I mean, the regulations require it. We should guarantee that it happens.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I hear that, but just to raise a point, because I work in a high school. I have seniors who are identified in various areas. I have juniors and seniors who are identified in various areas because they were identified, say, in music or drama as third or fourth graders and have zero desire to do that ever again. I can invite them on field trips. I can offer them things, but I don't know, or they're seniors and they're identified in science or social studies, and they're not required to take one of those classes at the high school level because they've met the requirements for graduation, but they don't want to take one of those classes. So even though it's provided for them and I'm offering it to them, they are choosing not to receive that service. Just throwing that out there is something to consider.
Could we change it to guarantee that all children identified as gifted have the opportunity to receive appropriate services?
Are offered appropriate services.
I like that
like-
because I agree with you, Abby. I have the
Mhm.
same challenges in my district as well. You
Right.
can offer it, but
Right.
you know, I don't know if they will do it. So yeah, I like that change.
I've even had students, I've had parents come back and say, thank you so much for identifying my child. We're going to decline services. We don't want anything.
Opportunity is reflected in the title for 2. Anything else on that second bullet? The third bullet, promote awareness campaign to highlight GT services and rights. This is what we're asking KDE to do. Suggestions on that third bullet? Fourth bullet, clarify and standardize communication about GT programs statewide. What's an example of something with that one? I guess I'm thinking, what's an example that needs to be standardized? What would the message be that's asking KDE to do?
I know
Based
that the
on our-
news, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Cause I was just gonna say, based on our previous conversation about things that vary district to district and not being able to say, this or that, can we standardize communication, or would that have to be something that's, when we talked about rubrics and nomination forms and things like that? That was gonna be my question. Go ahead, Hannah. I'm done.
What? No, you're good. I think I had misread it because I was thinking if this is something that, are we asking KDE to clarify or to like to communicate about GT programs statewide. So I'm thinking about highlighting the different programs or what counties are doing. That's one, and I could be looking at that wrong. Like I know that the news report or the OSEAL, is that how you say that? The reports that they give out and they do a spotlight on different programs in different districts. You know, I think that's a great way that they're showing what programs are doing. I know years ago that during the Gifted Education Month in Frankfurt, like they would have the posters to outline of what each district is doing and had pictures of the kids. So while the senators and representatives would walk through, they could kind of see that. So that's what I was looking at, it thinking of about how we can communicate what they're doing, but I think I misread it.
I think that's highlighting. I'm not sure it's clarifying or standardizing communication.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if we could all get on the same page when it comes to rubrics or information from district to district to be a statewide. Be something statewide that's the same across the board. I think it would make it more. I think that would help promote awareness if it was a statewide initiative. I don't know, is that something that we are able to start to put into process at this point?
I guess I'm not clear on what the ask is, and so I struggle to comment on that. Again, I'm gonna go back to, we are limited with the regulations, and you know, it becomes difficult for districts to be innovative when sometimes, not always, if there are restrictions, but we can't do statewide requirements without regulation to support that that's necessary. So that's something that we can't do. But I'm listening and I'm trying to understand. So it's difficult for me to comment exactly how we could do that bullet. I'm trying to. Not sure. Unless, like,
Pauline.
Go ahead.
This is Pauline Covington, and I just, when I immediately think of statewide or, you know, throughout the Commonwealth, I think of Infinite Campus and the pushing out of notifications through Infinite Campus. If something like Infinite Campus is used throughout the Commonwealth, is there or has there been ways to use that platform to share information, which I think the answer is yes, share information about the services that identified students have the right to be offered?
Is there a way to combine bullet 3 and bullet 4, so promote awareness campaigns and to clarify the communication? I'm thinking of the awareness campaign that KDE has recently done centered around attendance. If there's a way that they could do an awareness campaign, promote an awareness campaign from KDE's level, but include in that campaign information about gifted and talented, how do students become eligible for those services and what are the categories, and that maybe that there's a possibility to combine the two bullets.
And how would you do that, Carrie? Could you give us wording?
I think we would have to identify what we want the awareness campaign to include, but if we could say something along the lines of promote an awareness campaign highlighting gifted and talented services, including, and then kind of bullet that out of what that might look like, that we would think that we would want that campaign to highlight.
So let's put a comma after rights, including what goes in there.
And then what as a holistic group, what do we want that campaign to include? And those of you that are gifted and talented teachers, you probably want to take the lead on that part.
Well, this is Hannah, and personally, like I think about, like making sure that the parents and families, that the 5 areas of the gifted, that it's not just academic or GI, that there is the creativity and the visual performing arts. I think that's important for parents to understand. And I know personally in my district, just that even though like in Russell County, we start testing and identifying in 4th grade, that doesn't mean that it's only in 4th grade that you can be identified. I've had a parent that was also a teacher that didn't know that until I did like a small PD with them. And that, we continue to look at MAP scores, and you can continue to be considered to qualify for gifted even in middle school and high school. And I think that could bring awareness too, to let parents know that just because your child might not make it in 4th grade doesn't mean that that's the end all. Those are some thoughts I had.
I 100% agree with that, because I've cleared up that misconception too.
So I hear the suggestion that we would get rid of the last bullet and make the 3rd bullet more inclusive. Is that what you're thinking? Let's try that.
Yeah, I'm envisioning something like a "Did you know" campaign. Like, did you know that your child could qualify for leadership? Did you know your child could qualify for visual and performing arts? And then if you did some type of campaign highlighting each of those areas, you could then give further details about those categories.
And I'm actually thinking 2 is about educators needing to know this as well as parents.
And could you tie it in with that campaign being in February for Gifted Education Month? I don't know how long the campaign did for the attendance, if that's something all year or ongoing, but that's a thought too.
Wait a year. So I am hearing you say what would be included there would be pretty much basic information that we would want educators and parents to know. So is there a way to, without clicking on what each of those items would be, because there would be several, including information parents and educators need to know about gifted education? Then at another time, we might be able to look at exactly what those pieces would be.
Well, this is Hannah again. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I just think kind of personally, I would think of getting input from all of the GT coordinators and across the state, and kind of, I don't know if that would be an email sent out from maybe Miss Melissa to everyone, just saying if you could list the top 3 items that you would want parents and families to be more aware of, and then we could take that list and compile it down to maybe the top 3, because I'm sure some of mine might reflect somebody else, and there could be a solid 2 or 3 leaders in that. That's the possibility on getting input for that.
Good suggestion. So how can we word that it would highlight what we think educators and parents need to know? I certainly have my version, but I bet you all have your version as well. And that's probably for another day, collecting information, as Hannah suggested.
Including information and communication to families and teachers about GT programs.
And I'd say educators, because administrators need to know this too.
Information and communication to families and educators.
Any other editing on that one? It would be so wonderful to have this as something that could be shared at the beginning of the year with educators. Like it or not, the information about gifted kids is pretty sparse in some places. So let's look at 2, including 3 bullets. Is there a motion for the council to accept 2 as a recommendation?
Abby Wheaton will make a motion to accept point 2.
A second?
This is Carrie Ballinger. I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Let's vote. Abigail Wheaton,
Yay.
Amanda Wells,
Yay.
Carrie Ballinger,
Yay.
Hannah England,
Yay.
Julia Roberts, yay. Kimberly Clayton Coast, Lindsay Burton,
Yay.
Luann Core Flanagan, Mason Dyer, Pauline Covington,
Yay.
Sade McKnight.
Yay.
I guess my question here is, do we have enough people voting that this would, yeah, we don't have. So we did for the first priority, but not for the second.
Dr. Roberts, I seen Luann Flanagan is still in the meeting, so she might have not heard you. It looks like she's on the phone. She's from Russell County. I know her, so I feel like I can.
So you can nudge her. I still
Yes,
don't think that.
I can send her a text.
So would that be
They
10?
Pauline, and I'm very sure it's Pauline's there.
The only one that we've
Sorry
lost.
about that. Sorry.
Yeah, that's, I'm not probably following it on the corner.
So Luann, do you vote for priority 2 in the amendment?
Yes, absolutely.
So let me, might be 10. Is that 10?
We only have 9.
10. 7, 8, 9, 10.
Robin doesn't count. I'm kind of looking at
Okay.
What happened to Mason? Because he was on the call and now he's not.
Hang on 1 second. Let me count and see how many people we've got. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 online, and how many in the room voting?
9, 2, which makes 9.
Yeah. We have to have 10 to be quorum, correct, Lynn?
That's correct.
Yep. So we have to pause, suspend the meeting until such time as we can meet quorum. So we cannot take any further action at this time.
So we have about 15 minutes left with the allotted time. Can we make reports? But
Yeah,
not-
you can go on with anything as informational. You just cannot discuss anything that requires a vote.
Okay.
Do we have to make a motion to suspend the meeting?
You have to make a motion to suspend the meeting at this time, and we will stop streaming the meeting until such time as we reconvene with a quorum.
So we're through even for reports.
No, we can do that, but we need to go ahead and make the motion first to suspend, right? And the
Correct.
recording, then we can continue just discussions.
Correct. Everything from here on out has to be informational in purpose. No official action can be taken.
And do we need a motion to suspend the meeting or is that?
Correct.
Is anyone
This is Pauline Covington. I make a motion to suspend the meeting.
a second?
Carrie Ballinger, second.
Discussion on the motion. Let's vote. Abigail Wheaton.
You cannot
Okay.
vote, unfortunately, at this time, but you
so
have to enter
we
the
just-
motion.
Okay, the motion has been done. We do not need to vote on it. Okay. So let's look at, Lynn, do you have anything else you would like to add to the meeting reporting?
No, we do have on the agenda, if there is, I guess we can't probably do the new business since there's not a agenda. No, I have to close the comments. And then you have your cage.
You're up for
Okay,
the cage. Okay.
So the Kentucky Association for Gifted Education has February as Gifted Education Month. Missouri has a week, others have a day, and wow, aren't we lucky to have a month to focus on gifted education? And a proclamation held yesterday, Commissioner Butcher led out with his comments. David Givens was here making comments from the Senate. Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman was there with the proclamation and encouragement for the students who were there. So it was a real special day. And I hope that various people are doing things this month that would recognize gifted education in your schools, your school district, and your community. I would tell you that photos are always enjoyed by representatives, whether they're your city council or within your school district. And so it might be a really good photo op to have a special occasion to recognize Gifted Education Month. And when you do that, send those photos to Cage and they may well appear in the next newsletter. The Cage Conference is coming up on the 23rd and 24th of the month. And help us get the word out that there is so much there for classroom teachers. It is not just for gifted resource teachers and coordinators. And of course, it is for them, but it's also for anyone, parent or educator. This year, there's a special rate for one day on Tuesday for teacher ed students. So it's a wonderful opportunity for learning, moving on with what we know about what's appropriate as we serve gifted and talented children. And do you have any questions? Sheila Gallagher, who is director of the William and Mary Center and the recent past president of the National Association for Gifted Children, is the keynote speaker on Monday. And Tracy Inman, a Kentucky specialist in gifted ed, will do the final keynote on Tuesday afternoon. So go to the CAGE website to register, but share that information with counselors in your school, with teachers in your school, with administrators. We do an administrators institute that Sheila Gallagher and I will be doing on Monday. So it's especially for your administrators. When they know about gifted, they do way more to support what's going on. So that's what I have from CAGE. Any questions?
Dr. Roberts, I had a quick question. It's really about the item that you had right before this one. I was curious, is there a collection of like social media or communications resources that we could use for Gifted and Talented Month that could be shared with this group?
Well, the answer to that's no, but we could have it right away. If that would be useful, I'm sure that's something that we could make available. So count on it being up and ready early next week, that we would have something you could use.
Okay, thank you.
Write a big note to myself on that. Anything else on the agenda, Melissa, information wise?
The last thing, I believe, Lynn, questions and additional.
Right, well, we can't do that because we don't have a point to add anything to the agenda, so go to the next one. So closing remarks, and then I do have just some administrative tasks to follow up, close out the meeting on it after your closing remarks.
So in closing, I think this highlights for all of us how important a quorum is, and for you to be part of it and to stick with us as we go. And in this, I don't recall any meeting before that's been 9 to 11. Well, maybe I do, but you've got a certain amount of time to commit. And it surely is nice when folks come and commit to it. In closing remarks, let me share that I think you all know about House Bill 190 and what was done with that. I think there will be legislation to follow up on that yet this session that will be looking at an amendment that will make algebra in 9th grade required as an offering for students who score proficient or distinguished on that, knowing that you really can't do advanced math in high school if you don't start in 8th grade. And the advanced coursework is being encouraged at the national level as well as by various states at a time that not too much new grant funding is available from the U.S. Department of Education. Research Center was funded. Jonathan Plucker is director of this. And the first work they're doing is on advanced coursework. So the support is there at the national level. So a lot of good things are happening. You all have plans to offer advanced coursework for through 12th grade starting next fall. And I hope that legislation really sees more opportunities out there for our kids. You and I know that in any school district, this may not be what's there, but for this Commonwealth of Kentucky, more than half of our students are not proficient at grade 4, 8, or 12. And with that percentage not scoring at proficient in any of the content areas, it is so easy for the focus to be only on them. And that is important, but it's also important that the focus is on students who are scoring at proficient or distinguished and need to keep on learning. So I suppose in my closing remarks, let's keep working together, ensuring that children who are advanced and ready to learn at high levels have every opportunity to do so. And I thank you for showing up today and for staying. We approved one priority, and it will be incredibly important for us to approve 2 and 3 before this year is out. So thanks. I won't say have a safe drive home except for you. But see you at the CAGE conference.
A quick reminder for those of us that are in the meeting still is there is an exit slip that'll be showing on the screen here shortly. Scan that QR code. And if you don't have time to do that, Melissa will be doing a follow-up email out to everyone with that. Also, if you need to submit reimbursement forms or substitute forms, if you can do those as soon as possible after today's meeting. If you need assistance with that, you can reach out to Melissa and she'll be glad to help you with that. And our next meeting is April 24th, and it's a virtual only meeting.
And that would be the last one.
Yeah, for
the year.
Yeah.
So it is incredibly important for you to nudge others who are on the council to mark that on your calendar, circle it in whatever your favorite color is, so that you remember it.